The one with the most money isn't always the richest. The strongest man isn't the one who wins every fight. And the happiest man isn't the one living in constant comfort. No, the richest, strongest, and happiest person is the one who carries peace in their soul. And that kind of peace doesn't come from anything in this world. It comes from God alone. Her words settled deep in my chest. How many times have we believed the lie that if we just had a little more, we'd be satisfied? How often have we measured our worth by what we own instead of who we truly are? But this woman who had lived nearly 100 years, was telling me something far deeper. She was telling me that real wealth isn't found in material things, but in faith. Real strength isn't in how much power you have, but in how much you surrender to God. And real happiness isn't in living easy, but in knowing your life means something greater than just your own comfort. She let out a long breath and gently shook her head. People spend their whole lives chasing after things they already have access to. They search for love, but love is right in front of them if they just slow down enough to give it. They search for peace, but peace is found in trusting the one who holds tomorrow. They chase purpose, but purpose isn't found in running after the wind. It's found in service, to others and to God. Then she looked me in the eyes, steady and calm. "Son," she said, "if you want to live a life that truly means something, remember this. You won't be remembered for what you owned. You won't be remembered for how important you thought you were. You'll be remembered for how well you loved, how deeply you believed, and how faithfully you walked with your Creator. That's the kind of legacy that lasts." I sat quietly, just letting her words echo inside. She didn't need fancy speeches. She didn't use complicated words. She just spoke truth, the kind of truth this world so often forgets. And as I listened, I realized I had just received something more precious than all the treasures this world could offer. Because that, my friends, is the truth. She sat in her chair, her hands folded in her lap, her face calm but lined with years. She had lived through both abundance and struggle. And when she spoke, it wasn't rushed or unsure. Her voice carried the weight of someone who had learned through prayers, tears, and time. "Son," she said, "most people are running after things that won't last. They think they're building something important, but really, they're just chasing the wind." I leaned in closer. She didn't speak quickly, nor did she try to impress. But each word she spoke had weight, like it had been earned through decades of living. People spend their lives worrying about money, about their image, about what others think of them. But let me tell you something. Most of what you're worried about right now won't even matter in a few years. And when you stand before God one day, none of it will matter at all. She paused, letting the quiet settle around us before continuing. "I've lived long enough to see men rise and fall. I've seen the rich go broke. I've seen people fight for power and disappear the moment they're gone. And I've seen those who spent their lives gathering things, only to leave this world with empty hands. That's just how life is. Nothing here lasts forever, but people still live like it does." She shook her head gently. "Let me tell you something most people never figure out. Real peace, real joy, real security, they don't come from what you have. They come from knowing God. You can have everything the world offers and still feel empty. And you can have very little but still be the richest person alive if you've got faith, love, and peace in your heart." She looked me straight in the eye. "Do you know why people are so restless? It's because they're trying to fill a space in their heart with things that just don't fit. Money won't fill it. Success won't fill it. Not even other people can fill it. That space was made for God. And until you give Him that place in your life, you'll always feel like something's missing." She paused again, letting me sit with those words. Then she continued, But it's not just about knowing God, son. It's about how you live. Too many people say they believe, but they don't act like it. They hold grudges. They chase after things that don't matter. They forget to be kind. They forget to be grateful. But how you live, that's the real proof of what you believe. Her hands, worn from years of hard work, rested gently on her knees as she spoke again. Love, kindness, and faith, those are the things that matter. How you treat people, how you forgive, how you serve others. That's what lasts. When I leave this world, I don't want to be remembered for what I owned. I want to be remembered for the love I gave, the faith I held, and the kindness I shared. I stayed silent, letting her words rest in me. She wasn't telling me something new. She was telling me something true, something simple, but so often forgotten. People spend their lives chasing things they already have access to. They look for happiness, but happiness lives in gratitude. They search for love, but love is found in giving, not in taking. They want peace, but peace is found in trusting God, not in trying to control everything. She gave me a soft smile, full of warmth. Son, she said, don't wait until you're my age to figure this out. Life is short. Don't waste it chasing things that won't matter in the end. Live in a way that, when your time comes, you're not afraid to go. Live in a way that makes a difference. Live in a way that pleases God. And with that, she leaned back in her chair, quiet again, as if she had said all that needed to be said. But in those few words, she gave me something priceless, the kind of wisdom that only comes from a life fully lived. And that, my friends, is a truth few truly understand. She sat quietly, her hands resting in her lap, her eyes full of years. She had lived through seasons of sorrow and seasons of joy. And when she spoke again, her voice was calm, grounded in a lifetime of faith and truth. Son, she said, most people live like this life is all there is. But everything you see, everything you build, everything you cling to, it's all going to pass away. And when that day comes, the only thing that will matter is what you did for God and for others. There was no rush in her tone, no push to convince me, just truth, spoken plainly. I've seen it, she said. People chase after more money thinking it will bring peace. They chase after influence hoping it will bring security. They chase attention thinking it'll make them feel valued. But I've seen those who had it all and still felt empty. And I've seen people with almost nothing who were full of joy that no one could explain. She shook her head, as if seeing all those faces again. Do you know why so many people still feel lost even when they get everything they dreamed of? It's because they're trying to fill a space that wasn't made for anything in this world. Only God can fill it. Her words sank deep into my heart. I'd heard people talk about faith before, but never like this. This wasn't just something she believed. It was something she lived. And I could see it in her eyes. She had found something real, something unshakable. She looked at me, calm but firm. It's not just about believing in God. It's about how you live. A lot of people say they have faith, but their lives say something different. They hold on to anger. They chase empty things. They forget to love. They forget to be kind. She paused again. If you want to live a life that really matters, then live with love. Live with faith. Live with purpose. People think they have time. They keep putting off what's right. They delay forgiveness. They put off getting right with God. But time isn't promised. I've seen how quickly things can change. One moment you're fine, and the next, everything's different. So don't waste your days on things that won't matter in the end. Spend your time wisely. Use it to love. Use it to serve. Use it to draw closer to God. Her voice softened, but every word still carried weight. And remember this, your legacy isn't built on what you owned. It's built on how you loved. When your time comes, people won't talk about your money. They'll talk about your heart. They won't remember everything you said. They'll remember how you treated them. They'll remember your kindness, your faith, your love. That's the kind of legacy that truly matters. She leaned back in her chair, her eyes full of understanding. So, son, don't forget, what really counts in the end isn't money or praise. Don't make the mistake of chasing what disappears with time. Don't live for things that vanish. Live for what truly counts. Live for God. Live for love. Live for something bigger than yourself. After saying that, she went quiet. But in those short moments, she had spoken more truth than many ever managed to speak in a lifetime. And that, my friends, is something real, something most people never fully grasp. She sat in her chair, her hands gently folded in her lap, her face calm and touched by many years. She had lived through moments of joy and pain. She had seen the world shift in ways most wouldn't believe. And when she spoke, her voice was calm, never hurried or unsure, but full of the strength that comes from experience. She said most people spend their whole lives running after things that don't last. They work endlessly, they worry too much, they push themselves, always thinking that having just a little more will finally bring peace. But here's a truth not many know. Peace doesn't come from what you own. It comes from who you are inside and who you put your trust in. She paused for a few seconds, like she was letting that truth settle in the air before going on. I've seen people with more money than they could ever use, and yet their hearts were empty. I've met men with great power who could command thousands, but they couldn't quiet their own fears. And I've seen people who had almost nothing, no riches, no fame, no worldly success, but they walked through life with a kind of peace and strength that couldn't be shaken. Do you know why? Because they had faith. They didn't put their hope in things that fade away. They placed their trust in God. And that made all the difference. She leaned forward just a bit, her eyes focused. The problem with most folks is that they spend their whole lives stacking up treasures that don't last. They fight to be rich, to be known, to be admired, believing that's what will give their life meaning. But listen, son, every single thing you own will one day belong to someone else. Every position you hold will be forgotten. Every trophy, every award will be left behind. And in that moment, the only thing that will truly matter is the kind of person you were. I sat there in silence, letting her words sink in. She wasn't saying something hard to understand. She was telling me something simple and deeply true, something I already knew in my heart but too often forgot. She went on. I've lived long enough to watch people come and go. Some left behind wealth, some made a name for themselves. But the ones I remember most clearly are the ones who left behind love. Not riches, not power, not status, just love. The way they treated others, the way they forgave, the way they gave help and never expected anything in return. That's what lasts. That's what really matters. She let out a small sigh, gently shaking her head. The world will try to tell you that happiness comes from getting more, doing more, being more. But the world is wrong. True happiness is found in being thankful. It's found in loving what you already have. It's found in valuing the people around you and believing that God's plan is bigger than your problems. People spend so much of their lives chasing happiness, not realizing it's right there in front of them. Her voice grew softer, but her words carried even more meaning. And let me tell you something else. Time isn't promised. I've seen so many people delay the most important things, thinking they'll get around to them later. They hold off on forgiving. They wait to love. They wait to make peace with God. But sometimes, later, never comes. And when that day finally shows up, they look back full of regret. Don't let that happen to you, son. If something's good, do it now. If something's right, do it today. Don't waste your life chasing things that won't matter in the end. She looked at me one more time, her face full of kindness and certainty. One day, your life will be remembered. And when people talk about you, it won't be the money you made or the awards you won that they remember. It'll be the love you gave, the kindness you showed, and the faith you lived by. That's your real legacy. That's what will last. And with that, she leaned back, her eyes still calm and full of understanding. She had spoken not just from knowledge, but from a life full of lessons. And that, my friends, is a truth very few people really come to understand. She sat quietly, her hands resting in her lap, her face full of wisdom and years of living. She had seen life from every angle, moments of happiness, moments of pain, times of plenty and times of need. And when she spoke, her voice carried the strength of all those years, steady and clear. Son, she said, most men go through life never really learning what's important. They run after things that fade, they worry over what they can't change, and they spend their days searching for joy in all the wrong places. But here's something many never figure out. The things that matter most in life aren't things at all. She looked at me like she had seen too many people waste their lives chasing what doesn't last. I've seen people work their entire lives, thinking if they could just make enough money, they'd finally be happy. But I've also seen those same people reach the top and still feel empty. Money can buy you a house, but it can't give you peace. It might buy comfort, but it won't bring real joy. It can pay for medicine, but it can't give you health. There's nothing wrong with working hard. Just don't fall into the trap of thinking money will give your life meaning. She paused again to let her words settle before continuing. And then there are people who chase after success, power, and praise. They want others to admire them, to respect them, to remember their names. But son, let me tell you something. One day, every title will be forgotten. Every award will gather dust. Every accomplishment will fade into history. What will truly matter when your time is up is how you lived, how you loved, and how you treated the people around you. She leaned forward a little, her face serious. And there's something else I've learned. People waste too much of their time worrying about tomorrow, worrying about what others think, worrying about things they can't control. But worry is a thief. It steals your peace, it steals your joy, and in the end, it changes nothing. Most of the things you're worrying about today won't even matter next year. And the ones that do, well, worrying won't help fix them anyway. Trust God. Do your best. Let go of the rest. She shook her head gently and sighed. But if I've learned anything over all these years, it's this. Love is the only thing that lasts. People won't remember what you owned, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. They won't remember your title, but they'll remember your compassion. At the end of your life, the only thing that will really matter is the love you shared, with your family, your friends, and even strangers. That's your true legacy. Her voice softened even more, but it still carried strength. And son, don't wait. Don't wait to say, I love you. Don't wait to forgive. Don't wait to make peace. Too many people leave this world full of regret, not because of what they did, but because of what they didn't do. Don't let that be your story. Whatever is good, do it. She sat back once more, her eyes looking as though they had seen 1,000 lifetimes. So, live with faith. Love without conditions. Let go of what doesn't matter. And when your time comes, you won't be afraid, because in the end, the only thing that will matter is how well you lived, how deeply you loved, and how faithfully you walked with God. She didn't have to say anything else. In just a few words, she gave me something priceless, the kind of wisdom that only comes from truly living. And that, my friends, is something very few ever come to understand.